Hey folks, how are we doing? Hoping you can hear me okay. The microphone is a wee bit further away than what it was on Thursday, but I'm hoping that it's still pretty much picking up audio, and I'm hoping that I've sorted it because I noticed that last week you couldn't hear me as much when I was over here painting as what you could when I was over here. So I've tried to kind of change the settings just a smidge so as that you can hear me no matter what side I'm at. Welcome to the channel. I'm going to be doing some painting again, similar to last week. I'll shout out the YouTube channel Michelle the Painter. So I only started painting, a couple of months back, and it's mostly her YouTube tutorials that I've been following. And this is kind of inspired by a painting that she's done, but there's going to be wee bits and bobs that I'll change about it, particularly the fire. There's going to be like a kind of a campfire, bonfire type thing. And I'm going to kind of veer off in my own direction when it comes to that. So yeah, this is going to be a kind of a campfire type scene. It's going to be at night time. It's going to be kind of there's going to be some trees and stuff. So yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy this. If you paint yourself, then maybe you want to follow along. I'm certainly a beginner, so I won't be doing it at any kind of high speed. So I should be slow enough so that you can follow along if you so wish. You might notice at points that I might, mute my audio, put on some daft music for you to listen to whilst I go and clean paintbrushes or whilst I use the hairdryer to dry my canvas. So yeah, just bear with me. Last week it seemed to go okay. So hopefully this week will be the same. So let's switch over to this and we will kick off. So I'm going to be starting off with the sky. Let me just tell you what I've got on my desk first. So the brushes that I'm going to be using here, this is like a 1-inch synthetic brush, and I'm really just using this to kind of I'm going to try and get the sky and the grounds and stuff painted as quickly as I can. I don't want this to be like an hours and hours long video, but I'm conscious that I'm probably going to be spending a wee bit of time on the flames on the fire, because that's something that I want to try and achieve, is to make the fire look somewhat realistic, and that can be quite tricky to do. But I've been looking up all week, I've been looking up tutorials on how to do so. So yeah, we'll see how we go on. So I've got that's the 1-inch synthetic brush. I've got a number 6 round synthetic brush, and I'll be using that for things like tree trunks and for doing the glow that the kind of a fire will cast on the trees and stuff like that. I got new brushes. I got hog hair bristle brushes, and these are a lot kind of a rougher than your synthetic ones, and I'm going to be using that for doing the treetops, because I'm hoping that, if I show you what that looks like, it's kind of a hopefully much more oh, Debbie's having a beach weekend. I was like, why is Malamir mentioning a beach weekend? I'm not painting anything to do with the beach, but no, that's fine. Yeah, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to get more of a kind of a dotty, kind of it'll look better in terms of the leaves and stuff. And I've also pulled out this. This is a kind of a flat, and you can see it's kind of got a bit of a slant to it. And this might be quite good for doing things like like the flames and stuff. And I'm not sure whether I'll do logs, but if I do some logs underneath the flames, then it might be quite good for that. So anyway, let's get started. Paints that I've got here, I'm using black, white. I've only got a wee bit of white this week because we're not going to be using as much white paint. I've also got blue, and this is kind of a darker blue than we were dealing with last week. I've got yellow, I've got red, and I've got a smidge of, this is burnt sienna, which is kind of like a chocolatey brown type colour. And we'll use that just for the kind of a light that the fire casts. Right, so I'm going to start off with my 1-inch brush. I'm going to use a smidge of black and quite a lot of blue on the brush. And I'm going to paint the kind of a top of the canvas first. Let me actually be polite and say hi to the people that are here. So we've got Malamir's here, we've got Debbie from Aquarius Owl, I've got Deanne from Blue Crescent Tarot. So hi to you three, I hope you're doing okay. So I'm just going to take that off there for now and I'm going to get started on this. So the idea here is that the sky will kind of start off quite dark. And I'm actually glad that I'm doing the top first because it's the black can be quite dominating, so it can in terms of the colour that it, in terms of what it does to the canvas, what it does to the the colour. So if you're mixing black, you really want to be quite sparing with it. So I think I'm actually just going to take blue onto my brush just now, because there will still be black, and it'll just kind of work in with the colour. And I'm just doing kind of a side-to-side brush strokes just to kind of keep things nice and consistent. So how's everybody doing? Is everyone doing okay? Are we all kind of our weekends off to a good start and stuff? I've got to mention I've got a Canny Irn-Bru to kind of a drink as I go. And I'm going to try and make sure that I do keep drinking as I go because it's quite warm in here. In fact, I might need to open this window at some point. Just a wee touch of black on the brush. So I know at points I'm going to be stepping in front of the canvas, stepping right in front of the camera, to a point where you can't really see anything. So apologies for that. It's just so that I can get the bits over at the far right hand side. I'm actually going to open this window. Ooh, right. Okay, so just picking up blue because, like I say, I kind of want to work that black off of my brush as I'm going down. I'm going to need a lot more blue here. And I'm going to take the sky down to about probably about 2/3 of the way down, and then as I get to the bottom of where the sky is going to be, where I'm coming towards the horizon, I'm going to put a bit of white on my brush just to kind of lighten the sky up just as it kind of touches the ground, if that makes sense. So just getting the sides and the top as well just makes it look and feel a lot more kind of completed. So that's all I'm doing there. You can see that as I'm painting, there's still black in my brush. I'm going to have a lot more blue on my palette. There's still black on my brush, so that's just kind of works its way off. I will be washing my brush probably after I've done the sky before I come to the ground, because I don't want blue to be working its way onto the ground, Again, I'm just throwing my brush everywhere. Just kind of keeping up with these consistent brush strokes left and right, and then actually put that on there. And it just means that it, when it dries, it will look quite consistent. I always think, see when you're planning, painting the sky, that'll take me 2 minutes. You always think it's going to be really quick, but don't know if it's to do with the paint being thicker than what you think it is, but it always takes me a lot longer than what I anticipate. Hi, Red Wing. Malamere says this makes me want to paint something. I think you should. Maybe you should join in. I'm going to put a touch of water on my brush here, and all that's going to do is make the paint ever so slightly thinner. And it might actually make it a bit easier for me just to slap this on. Plus it's going to help me get all that excess paint onto the canvas, and off my brush. Just working down those sides. So when I'm doing this, I'm conscious that I'm not as chatty as what I maybe am when I'm doing my normal kind of lives. So please don't think that I'm ignoring you or I'm being rude. It's just that this is kind of something new for me. So yeah, it takes a lot of my concentration. So I'm conscious that I'm not paying attention to the chat as much. Just try to keep an eye on, roughly where I want. I'm probably going to take the sky down to about there. So, just as I feel as though I'm getting to that point, I'm going to remember and put some white on my brush just to, as I say, just get the sky that lighter feeling as it's touching the ground. I'm hoping that I've got enough blue paint here just to finish this off. Trying to work the paint right into the canvas as well, because that's the thing about sometimes like once it dries you notice that it's left like kind of a spots where you've not got perfect coverage. Don't really want to have to do another layer of the sky, so I'm just trying to properly work it right in and just be generous about how much paint I'm using. I'm going to have to get some more blue, which is fine. These are all everything that I'm using is there's nothing that's mega bucks that costs loads. Canvases, I think these are 16 by 20 inch canvases. As you can see, I'm using it in portrait kind of orientation this week. Last week was more this week is landscape, last week was portrait. So it's 3 of these canvases cost £12. I get everything from the works. Paints, again, I can't remember exactly how much they cost, but they're pretty good value for money. And the paintbrushes as well. So yeah, this isn't like a hobby that you need to have lots of expendable income for. I'm sure if you wanted to, you could spend a lot of money on things like fancy paints and fancy brushes and fancy canvases, but I'm not doing that. Okay, so getting to where I want the sky to stop roughly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick up some white on my brush and I'm going to basically work that in so you can see like that's really lightening up the paint that's already there. And we're just going to work that back up to blend the colours in. There we go. I'm quite happy with that. I've roughly got the kind of a gradient that I was looking for. You see it's starting off dark at the top, quite a consistent-ish blue colour as it kind of comes down, and then as it just gets to the bottom, it gets that wee bit lighter. So I am going to wash this brush. And dry it. And next we're going to do the ground. So I'm just using black for this. And all that I'm going to do is, it's not going to be a perfect horizon, there's going to be some hills, and it doesn't need to be perfectly straight because this isn't like where the sky touches the sea. If the sky was touching the sea, then you'd expect it to be a pretty much perfect horizontal line, kinda. But because it's grounds, you know, ground is obviously comes in all different you know, gradients and so yeah, if I just so let's see if I just do that and work that across. And black is quite dominating, so I'm not too concerned at the fact that my sky hasn't dried yet. You know, so if these colours mix, it's still pretty much going to come out perfect black, so it's not. And maybe that side's going to come up a bit. And again, painting the sides. The bottom is pretty much just going to be black, so just iron that black on there and making sure that I'm covering. And what I'll do is I'll get the bottom just, well, at the end at any point really, it doesn't really matter. But just painting the sides just to, you know, get them covered. This is much kind of a easier in terms of the sides than last week's, because last week's obviously there was a fair bit of kind of a different colours going on and some blending. So last week I felt as though the sides just looked a wee bit silly once it was all dried because the colours didn't match what was on the front, which I know it doesn't matter because it's no one's looking at a painting to look at the sides of it, but how are we getting on in chat? Oops. Malamir says, I'm getting targeted for fancy paint on Instagram now. Instagram is always listening. True. I feel as though all kind of our phones, social media, computers, they're always all listening these days, to be honest. Like sometimes they really it's freaky, the stuff that they show you is literally stuff that you've just been talking about. But then also sometimes the stuff that they show you is blooming weird. Some of the weird, strange things that my phone has suggested to me. Wish seems to be the worst for that. Wish just suggests some random adult-themed things. Probably going to need to put more black paint on my palette. As much as I probably shouldn't because it's still drying. I think I'm just going to do this just to finish off the bottom because I'd rather not cake my easel and paint. So you can see every now and then I'm just kind of looking over everything, and that just basically picks up any big blobs of paint which are lying. And don't get me wrong, like blobs of paint can be nice on an acrylic paint. It gives it that really textured aspect to it, but it makes it take ages to dry. So when it's not something you're particularly looking for, then I like to just kind of like right over, just take it rid of and have that consistent texture right across. Or black, I think. I'm going to need black for the trees and stuff as well, so there's a fair bit more black to come in this painting yet. So, totally painting my hands, but that's what happens when you paint. And also here, I'm just going to get this side. Try not to touch the actual front of the painting with my paint covered hands. Right. Okay, so that is the ground and the sky done. So there's ended up being a bit of a slant there. Like I say, that doesn't matter because that happens naturally with ground. Let's see. Next, I think we're going to be doing the tree trunks. So I'm probably going to let this dry. I'm going to wash my hands, change my water because I used it to clean that blue off my brush, so it's now bogging. And yeah, I'll then take the hairdryer to this. So I'm going to mute and I'm going to pop on some music. You might, this process might take a couple of minutes. So just bear with me just now. I'll leave the picture on and stuff so you can see what's happening. But I'm going to mute this now and I'll be back with you in audio form in about 5 minutes. Right, folks, so it's dry, everything's kind of cleaned up and stuff. Let me catch up on the comments. Maybe have another wee sip of wine brew. So, Malamir, I remember you saying targeted about paint. So that looks beautiful and peaceful already. I'm glad. I'm really pleased with how the bottom is turned. The bottom of the sky's turned out. I think that's got a beautiful kind of a brightness, but it's not too bright. Where it's like, well, it looks as though the top's night, and the bottom's day. It's just got that nice touch to it. So I'm quite pleased with it. Yeah, Robin, this is on canvas. This is a 16 by 20, stretched canvas. It's been kind of had the, is it gesso or something that the stuff is called that it gets primed with? I think it's twice or 3 layers of that on it. So yeah. Stretched canvas or stretched canvas. Robin, hi Robin, by the way, sorry. Used to love the way the stretched canvas resists the brush, like a drum making contact with the drum head sort of movement. Hi Beth, how you doing? Just popping on to say hi and see Chris and his art. I have to take out my dog soon. We took the dog out earlier on, so she'll be good for a while yet. That's not the kind of soundtrack I was. See, I don't hear it, Robin. I just picked one for the list. I've got a list of, I think, about 7 or something, and I just picked one. I thought it was going to be something serene, but now I wonder if something nefarious is crawling over that horizon. No, this is just a kind of a bonfire, campfire type scene. The soundtrack would suit a road movie across the landscape. Oh, hi, Nancy. Nancy's going to watch the replay. Oh, thank you very much. Okay. Right, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my number 6 round brush and I'm going to do my tree trunks. Now, the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to start off kind of in the centre-ish, and I'm going to have a row at each side. So I'm going to have them kind of coming out like this and coming out towards me. So they're going to start off small and thin, and then as they get to this side, they're going to be taller and thicker. And that's going to, tell the person looking at the painting that, that they're coming towards me. It's going to give that kind of a 3D effect. So just a smidge water on my brush, and I'm going to load it up with black paint. Okay, I think maybe the best way to do this is if I get down here, so I'm conscious you can't see me. Well, you can if I do this, actually. If I do that, you can see me. So just starting off, maybe like here. Here. And then I'm just pushing down on that brush to make the line thicker, I'm not too concerned about my tree trunks being perfectly straight. I don't think they need to be, trees aren't necessarily straight in nature. just as long as they're obviously vertical and not like going off in some weird horizontal direction, you know. And you know, as much as it just kind of you can just see them hitting the ground level at this stage because it's all black. When we start kind of incorporating, adding the glow and the shade, and I hope you can hear me here okay, by the way. When we start incorporating, adding glow and stuff like that onto the, you know, the tree trunks, then we can start to kind of tell the, you know, tell the person looking at the painting how far down these trunks are coming. Let's see, bring that one up to about here. And again, I'm just trying to bear in mind to, you know, keep the trunks going thicker and thicker as they move out and, you know, move closer to the you know, the perspective. Can that one up a wee bit, I think. Okay, I think that's good enough. And one last one over on the right hand side. So again, I'm probably going to be right in front of the painting here to do this. So excuse me whilst I basically cover everything up. My head. That'll do for now. This one here has got lots of paint. So I'm just trying to thin that out a bit. Right, sorry, I know you probably couldn't really hear me there. I'm going to wash this brush. So that's my tree trunks. Oh, we're going to move this back up. Okay, hopefully you can hear me better now. Just again, just wet the brushes just a smidge, just to just kind of like using a wee bit of flex on them. Okay, for the tree tops, so these are going to look different than the trees that we did last week. So these are going to be more like I'm just going to be kind of a dotting. I think actually I might paint on it to be quicker. I don't really want that to look so uniform. So obviously this tree's kind of a going off canvas, which is cool, which is fine. You would expect that with the trunk being so close. We're then going to, so obviously like as the trees get further away, you know, their leaves, their kind of a tree tops are going to be smaller. So I want to bear that in mind when I'm painting them. And you know, this doesn't need to be perfect or anything. Maybe I don't need more black paint just now. You know, nothing in nature is really perfect. So as long as, you know, it has that rough shape, and again, it doesn't look manicured or anything like that, then I think I'm pretty much happy. I'm really happy with how that bristle brush is working as well, by the way. I feel as though that's working a lot better than if I just used the big brush that I used to do the background and stuff. And that, you know, if I wanted to make the treetops, you know, bigger, then I could. Because, like, you know, if it was such that the treetops of like this one, the treetop on this one was kind of a covering and merging with the treetop on that, that's fine, because you know that's probably what we would see if we were looking at it in real life. It would almost look as though they're all merging into one. Yeah, I do want more black paint on here. And when I do the kind of a glow for the you know, from the fire, I'll be adding more colour into these treetops as well. If you're doing this and you wanted, then you could always add, like, you can maybe use like a dark green to go over, like kind of like the same idea as what we did last week. If you saw what we did with the kind of a more, what type of trees were they, pine trees last week, fir trees, kind of the same idea as what we did there. You know, we just went over with that kind of a dark green colour, and that just kind of a, you know, we still saw the black, we still saw that it was shadowed, but you know, it just added that wee bit of colour in. So that would totally make sense to do that. I don't think I'm going to do that. We'll see how I feel. I think I'll just use like kind of a reds and yellows, and you know, maybe it'll just look like a kind of a more autumn type scene. Okay, so I think I'm quite happy with that for the treetops. Sure that. Yep. So I'm going to wash that. because I'm going to be using that later to kind of add the, like I say, the glow from the fire on. Let me just check in and see what it is that we're doing next. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be kind of adding in some rocks for the the campfire. I'll switch back to this number 6 brush, and I'm going to use a bit of white and some black. Just to get a kind of a greyish colour. A bit more white than that. There we go. I think I'm happy with that. And all I'm doing here is I'm going to kind of try and keep it consistent with roughly in the middle of these two, just so that my fire isn't covering my faraway trees too much. I'm just going to be doing like kind of a, almost a partial circle. And again, I know that I'll actually do without getting paint everywhere. Hopefully, I'm going to move this down, and then hopefully you can hear me. Okay. So I'm just spinning my brush here just to try and get it to that point, because I don't want to it's almost coming out silver, which is fine. Just roughly getting that area where the fire is going to be coming from, Maybe I'll pick up a wee bit more white to make some of them, and some of the ones closer inwards, because when coals burn in fire, they do appear almost white. And then delving back into that grey to get some of these more outside ones. And once I'm happy, then I'll leave that at that. I'm trying not to go too far with it. Okay, so next. Okay, so the next thing is going to be to add the glow to the tree trunks. I don't think it really matters if they're dry for this, to be honest. So I will just fire in, and if I feel like I actually need to stop and let it dry, maybe blow dry it a wee bit, then I'll do that. But it's just the trunks that I'm going for now. So I'm going to start off with some red, and try not to put my hand too much in the paint that's wet, but it's just going to kind of the side of the tree, basically the trunk of the tree that's closest to the fire, is the side that's going to be kind of highlighted. So I'm just trying to kind of incorporate that. How's the picture looking? You can't quite see my face. I think because I'm moving this webcam about so much, it keeps deactivating. There we go. So I'm just kind of adding that red highlight. And this is where I can kind of add that information in about, maybe where the tree trunk is coming down to. And kind of like how we went down that way here, we're kind of going to be doing something quite similar, only the opposite way at the bottom. Okay, so the ones that are closer to us are going to come down lower. So maybe that veers off a wee bit because it's like the roots, are starting to. So when red dries, it becomes a lot less bright. So I'm not too worried if this looks a bit silly just now because, I know that it's not going to be as bright once it dries. So I'm just kind of blending that in almost to the black. And I'm going to do the same thing on all of them. So again, just that side that's closest to my fire, which I'm aware I'm not drawing yet. Don't worry, we'll get to that. Just blending that redness in. Like that. So of course, as I switch to the other side, it's obviously I'm switching sides. It's the other side of it that's going to be more kind of highlighted in the fire. So obviously I'm just remembering that as I'm. And again, like I was saying with the leaves, like if you wanted to, you could add in some green. If I wanted to with the trunks, I could, dip into my burnt sienna, which is my kind of a brown colour, and just use that to add in, maybe after the red, a wee bit of a darker highlight, and we're starting to see some of the browns of the actual trees, So just remembering to kind of up and down. Roughly just blend that with the black. And then finally my big tree on the right. Okay. I'm just going to kind of blot some of that red paint off here, and I'm then going to dip into some yellow and a smidge of white, I think, just to it's really just to highlight the very edge of the tree, of each tree. So I'm not really going to be working that into it as much. I'm just going to try and have as steady a hand as I can, and basically just working down the very edge. Just because it's the side close, it's the bit that's right, kind of the light from the fire's hitting first, so it's just going to be that wee bit brighter. Maybe I'll blend it a smidge with the red, but not too much. I don't want to go crazy. There we go. And again, just repeating that process for each of them. Okay, that's looking quite nice. Okay. Right, so if I take a step back, yeah, it looks quite rough, but it's looking okay, I think. So I am going to wash this brush. So I said to you that I'm going to be doing the fire a bit different from what she instructs in the video. I think actually what I'm going to do, because a couple of different ways you can do fire, and it's basically all about, oh, that's not a flattering image of me. I think when I'm moving about, I'm knocking the connections or something, and it's making the the camera stop. Anyway, yeah. It's all about kind of working your colours from red basically through to orange to yellow to white. Now you can start off with the white and then work the darker colours on top, or you can start off with the darker colours, and then let them dry and work each lighter one on top of it. I'm going to do a layer of white first, and I'm going to kind of try and get the shape of my flames first. Then I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll kind of work the other colours on top. So I'm actually going to put myself some fresh white paint, because you know, I don't want to get like those other colours that when I've been dipping into it on top of it. This is more or less dry, I think. So just kind of when I'm doing fire, I'm basically just all fires are different shapes. So again, kind of like what I've been saying with the other stuff in this, as long as I'm not doing anything really like crazy chaotic, then I think I'm happy. As long as it has that rough kind of a fire shape, then I think we're good. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of fill that in with white, trying to keep that kind of that brush stroke, kind of going in that up and down, kind of a swirly direction. But this is really just mostly for coverage. So I think I'm more or less happy with the shape of that. I'm not looking for this to be perfect. You know, I'm very conscious that I have just started not that long ago, but I do want to kind of try and have it looking like a realistic fire. So yeah, that would roughly do me for the shape, I think. And I'm just going to kind of almost like take my finger and almost like just kind of bring it out at points. And all that's doing is it's kind of it's giving it that, you know, that illusion. Those bits that are, I don't know, flaring out, I guess. We can maybe use that bristle brush to do some sparks at the top. So I'm going to give this a wee wash. Probably not strictly necessary, to be fair. Just to take most of that white paint off it. Let's see. I think next we'll probably move on to the. But we could probably do the highlights around the fire actually before we do the you know, the highlights in the treetops, because I can see that they're still kind of a drying. So I'll give them more time to dry naturally. So again, I'm going to be doing this a wee bit different from what she does in the video. I guess what will we start off? We'll maybe start off with some reds, and I'm just going to kind of I mean, I'm conscious the light is going to be lightest nearest the fire, and it's going to kind of work its way out. So I'm almost just kind of at random points, just highlighting certain bits. This is probably liable to making an arse of this here. Just because this is where I'm really going off piste. See, I'm just kind of using my finger to kind of smudge that out, because it's, you know, it's the light being cast by the fire. I don't want it to look too perfect. And if I want to, I can come back with my black and cover some of this up if I felt like it needed it. You know, if I'd gone too far with some of it, or you know, I can bring the light. I'll probably bring the lighter colours in just a wee bit closer to it, just to conscious I don't want this to just end up like a circle around it, because the light's going to, you know, light's a funny thing like that. You know, it casts funny in different places. And obviously I want to be careful that I don't bump into my fire too much. I'm obviously going to be going over the fire, so it's not the biggest deal in the world if I do, but so maybe now is when I start delving into that burnt sienna colour and just kind of with the dirty brush, you know, with the red still on the brush. Again, I'm just working those colours together and try to get this impression of this glow around about the fire. Kind of the easel's been a wee bit awkward here, making this a bit difficult. Some of those colours together. I'm just scrubbing my brush onto that black background just to, you know, just to give it that effect. I'm dipped into a bit of yellow and I'm almost just I'm maybe going to use a wee bit of that burnt sienna. Just put these bits together. I don't want there to be a big space, you know, between the yellow and the red, and I do want them to kind of transition into each other. Right. I'm just going to be just touching. Make sure I'm catching all these kind of areas, you know. Trying to incorporate some of that glow. Let that work its way out. Maybe dipping back into my red, maybe with a wee bit of burnt sienna, just to feels like this is too perfect a circle now, you know. So I'm just wanting to kind of break it up a wee bit, I guess. Yeah. I'm not sure if this is now just one of these kind of quick will get ahead situations where I should just stop just now. I think what we'll do, I will change my water again. I'll just clean that brush in there. And I will blow dry just the tree tops and just get some of the highlights on there, and once I've done that, I'll kind of have another look at the glow and see if I'm happy with it. So yeah, again, I'm just going to put on some music. I'll try and make it some appropriate music this time for what we're doing, and I will be back shortly, probably another 5 minutes or so. Okay, we're back, and that's pretty much dry. It's not a big deal if there's still a wee bit of paint on, a wee bit of wet paint on there. I'm not wanting the black to go anywhere. We still want to have that kind of a shadowed effect. But so the colours I'm going to be using, I'm going to kind of follow the same rigmarole as I did for the trunks on the treetops. So I'm going to be adding some red, and then we'll kind of get the bits closer to the side with some yellow and white mixture. So yeah, going into my red first, and yeah, just kind of just highlighting that the right side of these trees. And again, I'm conscious that when this red dries, it's not going to be quite so bright. And I suppose I'm just kind of working that a wee bit over to be less, bright when it gets to that left-hand side. And again, just following the same process for each one. Because these trees are almost further away, I don't really need to have as much highlight on them. Does look pretty though, doesn't it? And if this turns out to be, if I've kind of going a bit too heavy, or if your eyes start to question, you know, is that really what it look like? Is that what the glow looks like? Then these could always be like autumn trees that where the leaves are that kind of a red, yellowy colour. So I'm not too concerned if, you know, about doing this too perfectly, to be honest with you. So just kind of making sure that I'm keeping up that dot, and I'm obviously not wanting to be doing paint strokes here. Because that's obviously going to give us solid lines, and we don't really want that so much. And as the paint's working off my brush, again, I'm just looking over to that, to the right hand side of these. Sorry, well, yeah, to the right hand side of these as they get kind of further away from the fire. Okay, so I've still got red in my brush. I'm not even going to bother kind of cleaning it too much. Just going to get a bit of yellow on there. So much need to worry about the white. And I'll just working that yellow into the far end. Not wanting it to totally take over. The wee dot, the wee hints of yellow on those further away ones. Okay. Just a wee bit too blotchy, to be honest. So I'm just going over that again, just to kind of change the texture of that. I think I'm quite happy with how that's looking. So I'm going to wash this. I think that's me done with the big bristle brush, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to give it a right good wash. And dry. I'll probably just shove that over here to the side. I'm going to take a sip of Irn-Bru. Let me catch up with your comments, actually. I remember the phones are sneaky comments. The funny choice in music. Nancy, right, remember you saying you were going to catch the replay. Right after that, we've got Ramon's come in from Moonscarab. Hi, Ramon, how you doing? Looking really nice, thank you very much. I'm quite pleased with myself so far. We'll see how we go with the flames. I'm not really quite sure how I've done with this glow, although it's not looking too bad on the, you know, on the picture, to be fair. Let's see, Robin's saying this is taking the place of childhood Saturday morning cartoons, only it's a really slow one. Yeah, I know. I suppose that's good if you're wanting to follow along, eh? Malamir was stepping away to take Gabriel out. It's funny how entertaining the watching of a creation can be, not knowing what it will become. Red Wing says, before I heard Chris saying trees, I had images of Callanish stones. Okay. Oh, gosh, so that was when I was just painting the tree trunks. So do we think this is pre-dawn or post-sunset? I'm thinking just post-sunset because, you know, you tend to kind of light a campfire at night, don't you? But whatever you think it is, that's what it is. Fairy Circle UFO landing. Yeah, Red Wing thinks post-sunset as well. Sarah from Waterchild Tarots here. Thanks for sharing with us. You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I say let's all meet at this grove. It looks like a wonderful place to gather. It does, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm glad. And that's me at the bottom. So I just, like I was saying before, I'm not as good at kind of keeping up with the comments when I'm doing this kind of thing, but I'm trying to just check in with everyone every now and then. Okay, so I think I'm going to my fire next. Let me just kind of a check in and see if there's anything that I'm forgetting. So that was adding. Yeah, so we're going to the fire next. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be kind of working from my lighter colours and out. So I'm starting off with, well, I've got white there. So now I'm going to be working some yellow into it. Then what I'll do is I'll mix myself a kind of orange colour and work that on. And then we'll kind of work to our more reddish kind of a colour as we get out to the outside. So I'm even going to get a wee bit of, I think mix a wee bit of white in with that yellow, you know, just to get it that kind of a that really light colour. And again, I'm just going to move everything down so as you can still see and hear me okay. When we look at fire in real life, there is white in it, so I'm not necessarily wanting to completely cover this white. I'm just kind of almost just working my way out the way. Giving it that, you know, that just adding that kind of a yellow hue into it. And I'm going to be kind of going over a lot of this with the darker colours, so I'm not too concerned if I don't catch all of the white or anything like that. You know, and I'm trying to keep up that consistent brush stroke. Just working my yellows in. Let's see, so let's get some yellow and a wee touch of red. Maybe mix ourselves a bit of a yellowy orangey. And kind of just almost going over the top of that. And again, I'm actually going to keep to the same bit, but just add more red just to make it that darker kind of orange. Yellow just to smidge of white. Made that a wee bit too dark there. A wee bit brown. I'm not wanting to have really tons of paint on my brush because I'm not wanting to overpower this, you know, because I can always kind of make it go darker, but I don't want to have to start from scratch again and make it lighter, if that makes sense. And maybe I'll dip into my red, just with my dirty brush, just picking up some red and start getting the outsides of that. That red kind of a hue, and if I go outside that area where I kind of designated from a fire, then that's absolutely fine because you're going to have sparks. You're naturally going to there's going to be bits of the fire that are going to be quite solid in colour. There's going to be bits that are less so. So that's looking all right-ish. I think what I might do here is I'm going to wash this brush, and I think I might add in some black logs to the bottom, just so that we can show that there is something that's feeding this fire. So just getting the worst of that red and yellow and orange paint off my brush. I'm using this this flat brush, so that's kind of going to give me the shape for my logs, hopefully. So I'm just kind of on there, and I'm not too concerned about the yellows and the reds mixing with the black, because, well, for one, black does cover pretty well, but also, I'm going to want to kind of get it highlights, and it's going to be highlighted in the in the firelight as well. Let's see, maybe I've got a big black log coming down here. Coming across there, I'm quite happy with that. So again, wash and try this and get this black off. Maybe I'll switch brushes here actually back to my number 6, my round brush. Why did I do that? Do I actually want to use this bristle brush again just to kind of give this some sparks, or is that going to be a wee bit too... maybe I'll just pick up a smidge of red and just kind of just give these hints of sparks that are coming from the fire. I'm basically just picking up from a palette where I'd blotted off the excess red paint, so I'm not even like jumping straight into my red. Again, when this dries, you can barely kind of see it, so maybe even like pick up a wee bit of yellows and whites. Just for that. Okay, that fire's looking quite good. It's looking a lot better. Well, actually, it looks fine here as well. But it's looking quite good. I'm happy with how that turned out. I'm going to have to add in some highlights to my logs once they dry. Still, I don't feel as though I'm too happy with the, with the glow. I just want to have that going all the way around. Maybe I'm going to get there's a slight. I'm almost to the point where I'm blotting off all of the paint, and just for that burnt sienna, I'm just. So I'm not sure. I'm just kind of randomly, sporadically diving into my different colours just shows that the light's kind of bouncing everywhere in different ways, you know. Yeah, it feels a wee bit better, a wee bit more realistic. So here you can see with the bristle brush I am kind of painting in strokes, but I'm almost like I've got the bristles so that they're very bristly. So I'm almost like kind of taking advantage of the state that it's in after painting the rest. Just shows that it's not giving me solid lines, you know, and the fact that there isn't much paint on it. Yeah, I feel as though that's maybe looking a smidge better. Okay, so we've got the kind of the glow from the fire. We've got the glow from the fire on the trees. I know that I want to kind of add highlights to the logs, but what I also want to do is add stars into the sky. So let me see. That I will use my number 6 brush for that. And that's just going to be using white paint. So again, this is kind of in a similar vein to what we were doing last week. I'm kind of moving about just to kind of keep things nice and random, and it doesn't matter if the stars are different sizes because that's going to happen naturally. If you wanted to remember last week we had like a shooting star, you could even do that kind of thing, or maybe you could draw like the moon if you wanted. I'm not going to get into that just now, just because the moon's kind of a beast of its own to paint, and I want to make sure that I don't want them to be perfectly spread out with all equal distances from each other, so you can see I'm making a point and having wee clusters here, where there's kind of bits that aren't as starry. And I'm just kind of going to keep going with that until it looks to me as though it's a starry sky and not just a spotty sky. And maybe I'd be better looking into kind of using like a toothbrush or something for this type of thing. Just so that you're getting that proper kind of a random splattering type effect. I know that's what a lot of people do when it comes to painting stars and stuff. But you can paint as many or as little stars as you want. Just kind of up to your eyes happy. Coming in the middle, just these slight hints of maybe I need some more here. Okay, not the best, but you get the picture, as it were. So that kind of looks roughly like a starry sky. I suppose some of those blobs are a bit bigger. There's a lot of big stars there, whereas you wouldn't normally get that in the sky. So again, that's where maybe the toothbrush method would come in a lot better. But kind of a roughly starry-ish sky there. So now that I'm done with that, I just want to kind of add some highlights into these logs. Now, I can see that they've not dried perfectly. I'm not really that fussed about that. It's not the biggest deal. And the way that I'm doing this, I'm kind of just trying to do it just using my red first. Just to highlight different bits of the logs, just to show, that they are sitting in fire and they're not just. Oh, hi, Viviane and Marita. Sorry, I'm muttering to myself here. Pick up some of that burnt sienna even. I'm just kind of doing this until I'm satisfied with how they look. Maybe even going for that touch of yellow and white, just to kind of get the edges of some of them. Give it that realistic look. No, maybe I want to go over that with red. I don't really know what I was thinking with the yellow. And this is where you really need to kind of keep making sure that you step back, because when you're kind of this up close to a painting, it looks, it's hard to see it for what you're going to see it once it's finished, you kind of just need to keep taking that fresh perspective on it. Yeah. So for me, it's quite helpful to look into the screen because I can see, it's almost like looking at something different. So I'm happy with how the top ones are kind of getting that burnt look. They're looking quite well. I feel as though around about here, I'm wanting to add a wee bit more red. Maybe I've got this red highlight coming down here. Like that. I think I'm happy with that. Yep. I think that might be us done. I'm just trying to see if there's any other steps. So the fire, and shaded in the logs, and then that was it. So all that's left is we sign the painting. So I like to use a nice thin brush for this. So I think I'll actually grab so I've got a number 1 round brush here, and I'm going to sign it down here. So I'll just use white. So obviously if you're doing this, you could kind of add whatever extra details you want to. So you don't necessarily need to stop there. There might be extra things that you want. Maybe you want to add people around the fire or animals or something, It's really up to yourself, but I think I'm quite satisfied with how that looks. Yeah. So let's just, what I'll do when I wash this, try to keep the habit of just always washing and drying brushes after I've used them, because that's one thing with acrylic paints is you're not supposed to kind of let it dry on your brushes for any length of time. I think it wrecks the brushes. So I'm just trying to kind of whoops, pulled that brush apart. That's not great. There we go. So all my brushes are clean. and dry. So let me see, how's the view of the actual painting? Just a wee bit closer for you so you can see how we've done. Let me grab my seat over here. So, again with this camera. Okay, so let me just catch up on the comments, see if there's anything I've missed, and that's us done. How long have we been going for? Just under 2 hours, actually, same as last time. So Viviani popped in, as did Marita. I think I said hi. I've been peeking in every little while, and it's looking grand now. Much better star distribution. Yeah, kinda. It could be better, but we're not fussed about that. Living the Ember Glow. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that as well. Marita says use red. Was that for the logs? I'm not sure. And that's us. So yeah, thanks very much for being here with me, people. I hope that you have enjoyed this as much as I have. Oops, just trying to get my microphone level with my mouth. Yeah, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed it. Quite happy with my painting, how it's turned out. If you do this at any point, then send me a picture. Let me see what you've done. I'm going to stop just now because I'm starting to see bits that I want to change, and I'll use red for the signature, says Marita. Your red would be nice as well. I think just like white because it stands out against that black background, but the red would be a bit more subtle, I guess. Could go over the top with red if I wanted to, but I've cleaned all my brushes now, so we'll just stick with how it's looking. But yeah, thank you so much for being here with me. I hope that you've enjoyed this. Take care, and I'll hopefully see you all soon. Bye-bye.